Hello and welcome to the HR Boss Goal Setting Workshop 2021. My name is Kobe Rooms and I am the ICT Manager here at the HR Boss. And we want to welcome you to this session for our very first session for the year 2021, where the money resides is where we will be all 2021. So just to give you a brief overview of what will be happening this afternoon. We will be doing some giveaways. We'll be having some expert panelists sharing what they do to be where the money resides. We're going to have a talk from our founder and CEO, and we're going to wrap it all up. But just remember, ladies and gentlemen, this evening we are where the money resides for 2021. So for those of you who have not heard about the HR Boss career consultancy firm before, we are a small company based in Barbados, but has a regional reach. We offer career counseling, resume revamp, and also corporate services for HR. So that's just a little bit about the HR Boss. Our CEO will give a little bit more detail and a little bit more explanation as we go on with this evening. But if you know me, you know that I don't like to hold things that are too long. Information coming at you fast, and because of the overwhelming support, we have to say thank you. We have to move it from Zoom and bring it all the way onto YouTube. So don't worry if you miss anything. We'll have it online that you can review, and you'll be able to get that information. We'll keep it online for you. So about our giveaway this afternoon, we are giving away 1 free career coaching session, 2 free resume reviews, but as you know, with all these competitions, there is a catch. So all the participants this evening must be following the HR Boss on Instagram, because we are on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at the HR Boss. And you must be following us on Instagram. You can screen record any part of this workshop this afternoon and put it in your IG story and at the HR Boss. So screen record any part of this workshop. If it speaks to you, whatever, screen record it, tag us on the HR Boss on Instagram, and you will be eligible to win 1 free career coaching session, 2 free resume reviews. And as added bonus to all of you, I am seeing 60 persons so far who are on this live this afternoon. All of the participants this evening will get a special rate to our upcoming interview masterclass and a special rate to our Career Goals Club. So all of you who are here this evening, we're making sure that you are where the money resides. So just to introduce to you now our CEO and founder, Ms. Jamila Hollingsworth. She is a qualified HR professional with over 9 years experience in Jamaica, Barbados, and St. Lucia. At present, she serves as the HR manager at the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc. And she holds a bachelor's degree in human resource management from the University of the West Indies, Mona Campus, Jamaica, and a master's in business administration from Edinburgh Napier University in Scotland. And she is currently studying a bachelor's of law degree at the University of the West Indies. Jamila is a certified recruiter and assessor and has helped thousands of persons who take charge of their career. So without further ado, I'll introduce to you now to our Career Goals Session 2021, Ms. Jamila Hollingsworth, the founder and CEO of the HR Boss.
Hi, good evening, everyone. We're going where the money resides, where the money resides. The money is already here, and everything that we need to win is already within us. Now, we normally do a vision board session every January, and we have about 35 persons on the vision board session. But because of COVID, we cannot be with you in person. But we're bringing the same energy, and COVID has allowed us to be even more innovative because we now have regional partners. We have Jubar, who will join us a little later from Bermuda. He's a Barbadian, but based in Bermuda. And we have Rahim, who is from St. Lucia. He's currently studying in Barbados at the Faculty of Law. But we have Rahim, who's also joining us. And of course, you all know everybody's favorite advocate, Rashana Trim. And we have the money woman, because we need to know where to put our money, Rashida Parisram, who is no stranger to the HR Boss family. So welcome everybody. It's 74 of us. We're expecting about 100 to 200 people on live. So if you haven't shared this, as Kobe said, make sure you screen record the session. Make sure you're following us at IG. Make sure you follow our panelists, and make sure you record and tag the HR boss on Instagram and their stories in order to win our giveaways at the end of the session. Now, 2020 was trash, like real trash. Let's be real. But many of you would have attended our vision board session, and we were like really pumped. And by the end of March, Auntie Mia had us all at home staying in our house. And we're like, okay, these goals and this car that I was supposed to get, this land that I was supposed to buy, like, what we finna do? Like, how are we gonna achieve these goals if we are inside, right? And I hit a slump. I was the girl who was winning all 2017, 2018, and 2019. And like you, I felt as though, I wasn't making any progress in my career. But around, let's say May and June, I kind of got out of that funk. Because the truth is, COVID is going nowhere, and the only thing you can control is your actions. What can you do? What can you do to reach your goals? What can you do to tweak them and get you there a little faster? Between June and December, when I changed my attitude, I enrolled to the Faculty of Law, got accepted, started school, changed my career path in order to become an employment attorney, and I bought a new house and moved in and found the love of my life all in 2020. So 2020 wasn't all bad for me. It's all about mindset and how you have to be determined to win despite all the odds. Now, many of you have been career coached by me before. If you haven't been career coached by me before, I'm looking forward to working with you in 2021. But I want you to hear from other people
It seems like Jamila has stuck, but we're going to get her back shortly. Um, in the meantime, though, I'll start to introduce to you the panelists who are going to be joining Jamila this afternoon. We have with us Roshana Trim. Roshana, born in Guyana, raised in Barbados, Roshana Trim is a passionate Caribbean advocate with a keen interest in civic participation and development with young people as an active creator and partner. She found her voice in the Barbados National Youth Parliament, serving as the Prime Minister for the period 2014 to 2017. During this time, she harnessed her voice and used her platform both nationally and regionally to advocate on issues facing young people living in Barbados, such as civic participation, mental health, unemployment, education, and sexuality and discrimination. She has represented Barbados in the 39th and 40th Conference of the Caribbean, the Americas, and the Atlantic Region Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. And this was held in Barbados and the British Virgin Islands in 2014 and 2015, respectively. Roshana has been involved in youth-led organizations for over 8 years, and in January 2020, she became the first woman to chair the Caribbean Regional Youth Council. Whoop, whoop. She is also the current president of the Barbados Youth Development Council. Additionally, she serves as the program coordinator for Pink Parliament, which is an initiative she co-founded with the aims of increasing the number of women in Parliament by providing mentorship to girls ages 14 to 20. She is a 2019 IMF Youth Fellow and has just graduated from the University of the West Indies Cato campus with a bachelor's degree in Science in International Relations. We welcome to our panel this afternoon, Ms. Roshana Trim. Also joining our panel this afternoon, we have Jabbar Corbin, who's a senior executive in May 2019, Jabbar joined ION, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly, as a senior accountant executive in the commercial insurance division, where he's responsible for the day-to-day management of a portfolio of commercial insurance companies, both life and non-life. His duties include the management of finance and corporate governance requirements, including enhanced regulatory reporting to the Bermuda Monetary Authority under the Solvency II equivalence regime, as well as maintaining client relations and resolving client issues. Prior to joining Aecon, Jabbar worked with KPMG Bermuda as an audit senior in the firm's financial services department for 2 years, serving insurance, banking, and fund clients. His responsibilities included executing financial statements, audits from beginning to end, internal control evaluation, business processes, reviews, and audit team management. Before moving to Bermuda, Jabbar worked as an auditor with Ernst & Young in Barbados, serving banking, insurance, and retail clients. He is a Barbadian citizen with a Bachelor of Science degree in Accounting and Finance from the University of the West Indies. He's also a qualified member of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants UK, a qualification he obtained during his time with Ernst & Young, Barbados. That is Jabbar Corbin. We also have on the panel Ms. Rashida Parishram, and she is a seasoned chartered accountant with proven skills in corporate financial services and operations management. With over 15 years expertise in financial reporting, managing clients across several industries, and ensuring financial compliance for business operations. Currently, she is the managing director of a boutique accounting firm, MPR Consulting, working closely with clients to implement sound financial strategies, provide extensive auditing services, and create thorough financial and accounting reports for effective record keeping. We have Rashida.
Hi.
I'm going to add back in Jamila at this point. We are expecting another young man. His name is Rahim Augustine Joseph. He is a first-year law student and also a member of the St. Lucia National Youth Council and a valedictorian of the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, where he studied law. And he's studying law and political science here at Cape Hill. So Jamila, I think, is back now.
Thanks.
Yes, she is back.
Thank you.
And just a reminder to all of you who are watching, we are giving away some free packages here this afternoon, and we are asking that you screen record any section of the presentation and just tag us on the HR Boss on Instagram, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at the HR Boss. And just a note to all who are now joining, as part of this free goal setting workshop session, we're offering all participants this evening a special rate to our upcoming interview masterclass and a special rate to our Career Goals Club. So we just want to give a big shout out to all those who have joined us so far, and seeing that we have representation from Trinidad, from Grenada, from all over the region. So a big shout out at this time, and I'll hand over now to Jamila.
Thanks, Kobe. And I have to say thank you to the panel who agreed to come on here and share with me at last minute. I want to add Rahim so we can get this conversation going. Hi, Rahim.
Hi.
All right, guys. So 2020 was really, I don't know, I think it's a year that tested all of us professionally and personally. So I'm going to be asking you specific questions on how you would have managed to navigate either your career or your personal or professional life in order to be successful and relevant. I'm going to start with Jabbar, because I know a lot of people on here probably would have thought about leaving Barbados to go overseas to work, and they don't know how to go about it. They're probably scared to leave the comfort of their home country and go to another country and work. Jabbar, can you tell us a little bit about your experience leaving Barbados and going to Bermuda to basically start your career?
Hi, Jamila. First, let me start by saying thank you for inviting me to the panel tonight. In terms of my experience moving from Barbados to Bermuda, I moved in 2017, and to not hide anything, I was scared at first to move because I was leaving my family behind, I was leaving my friends and all my loved ones there, but I was doing it for career development. So in the first instance, it was difficult, moving to a different country, different cultural norms, and a different firm altogether, because I was with Ernst & Young in Barbados before moving to KPMG in Bermuda. So overall, I would say, yes, it was challenging, but with the right mindset, I was able to overcome it in the first 2 years there at KPMG, and then still able to push on to do other stuff while on island.
Yeah, so tell us about when you got to Bermuda, what you had to overcome in terms of, was it a different type of work culture? Did you have support from a career coach to get there? When you got there, what was the experience transitioning from a Barbadian working environment to a Bermudan working environment? I think
Yeah.
that's the correct term.
Well, first it was a different firm, but it was basically a similar role. So I was an auditor in Barbados, while moving to be an auditor in Bermuda. So the day-to-day tasks were the same for me. It was a different firm, so there was a learning process or a learning curve involved. The way things are done at Ernst& Young, EY to most people is not the same way it's done at KPMG. So that was a task in itself. But also, the major part of it was the people, getting to know. And luckily for me, I chose the right firm at the time, and I was able to go to a firm that had quality people, a quality coaching system, etc. Um, in terms of the support system, I had the backing from a lot of my friends back home, and I had a close mentor who did a similar transition from Ernst& Young to audit in Bermuda. So before even coming, I touched base with him, and I also had known a few colleagues, a few friends of mine who made the transition also. So coming to Bermuda, although it was new for me, there was a few friends I had on island, and I met some more Barbadian colleagues like myself who were here, and it's a wholesome group. They embraced me from day one, and they made the transition smooth for me as a professional at the age of 26 when I moved to Bermuda.
That's encouraging to hear. I think 2020 we had a lot of time in the house, so we had time to kind of see if our careers or our professions are where we want to be. Me personally, I made a decision to transition last year, sitting in the house realizing, okay, maybe law is where I really belong, employment law specifically. And I know a lot of people on the line, on the live, maybe thinking about transitioning or changing careers, but they're scared because what will people say? What if I fail?
Yeah.
What if people think that I am a crazy person? I have an established career in this thing. Why am I transitioning into something else to start over or to start from the bottom? Why am I leaving Barbados, the comfort of my family support system, to go to a country where I have no family, no support system, to now have to basically start from scratch and create some kind of support system? How did you, Jabbar, go about basically building a support system in Bermuda?
Well, speaking to the fear of failing, um, is a natural feeling that anyone would have, to be honest. And you can approach it two ways. If you prepare yourself, you're probably never or hardly going to fail. Can't say never fail. So if you look at it from a perspective, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail, and then you prepare, then you should be okay. But you can also look at it from a mindset. Something like moving abroad is that something that our prime minister says all the time: Barbados will always be home. So if you go abroad, you spread your wings, and things don't work out, you can always go back home. You're always going to have your family there. You're always going to have a support system there. And if you do the stuff that you have to do back home, chances are you can also go back to your former employer or find another employment opportunity in Barbados. So that should limit your fear of failing. To the support system, it's also good to look for best practices or look for people who have done something similar to what you're planning to do. Um, whatever idea you have that you might think is a crazy idea, there's always going to be someone or a group of people who have done something similar. For example, there's always going to be someone who was the first man to go to the moon. So it's always going to be someone that you can follow or you can ask around. So then the onus is on you to not have an ego and to just ask that person or to find a group of people who you can reach out to find out, how is Bermuda, how is Cayman Islands, how is St. Lucia, and then you go from there.
Okay. And speaking of unfamiliar territory and not having a blueprint, I'm going to move over to Roshana. Roshana is the first female chairwoman of the Caribbean Regional Youth Council. And Dinah Walker, part as are and in Barbados, as we will say, Dinah sweet bread of a position to have. Roshana is known locally for advocacy. We have people here from all over the region, but she's known regionally as well as locally. And Roshana, I'm going to ask you, what advice would you give to young persons who may be kind of like stressed out, depressed, unsure of their journey right now in their career going into 2021 with the outcome or the outlook not looking as bright as we would have expected it to? Because all of us expected at January 1, everything, COVID will roll back and our lives will go back to normal. What advice would you give to young people who may be uncertain at this time going into 2021?
So I think I want to let me start by thanking you for inviting me to speak this afternoon. And I want to start by saying to breathe. As young people, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to hit goals very early. I mean, I always tell people that 16-year-old me is so surprised that I am not married in my dream job with my master's and living by myself, having my own home and my own car, all these different things, because that was the plan. And if anything that 2020 really reinforced for me would be not to plan so much that your path is inflexible. It's very important to know where you want to be and what you want to do, but it's equally important to enjoy the ride towards your destination or towards your goal and be comfortable with changes. Every time you feel as if you are not hitting your target or hitting your mark or you encounter a failure, it's really, there's a lesson in there that you are not seeking to take in because you are too distracted by all the things that are not going well. So my advice would really be to breathe, to center yourself and to refocus and think about how at this time you can begin to make incremental steps towards where you want to go and not be so hell-bent on your failure or so hard on yourself that you don't give yourself grace and patience in order to conquer whatever it is that you are going through and in order to reach the next milestone that will allow for you to move on to wherever it is that you want to go or wherever it is that you see yourself going. It's okay to recalibrate and to refocus and to redirect and to pivot onto something else, particularly if you are not getting where you want to be or it's not going as easily. But I remember one piece of advice someone told me, and it was really, if you are going somewhere, you will either go straight through, you will go over, you will go under, and you can go to the sides. But if you don't take the time to understand how you are going to get there, you will remain stuck where you are. And I think that's a really good piece of advice.
Fantastic. So, Roshana, I know that you are big on goals. You have to be a strategic thinker and a strategic goal setter, if that's a word. You are the first in a lot of things, not just regionally in terms of advocacy, but locally, you've created this organization called Pink Parliament, where you're it's the encouragement. I don't know, I'm sticking. Is it that you have a specific goal to be first? Tell us how you go about creating these out of the box ideas that nobody has ever done before, and how do you go about achieving these goals?
So no, I actually don't have it. It's not set on me to be the first. I didn't realize that I was going to be the first woman to chair the Caribbean Regional Youth Parliament until like really late in the game, probably when I actually got to Trinidad to actually run. And I was really stoked about it because it was a great example for my girls with Pink Parliament. One of the things that I learned when I was somewhere around being 20, because I'm 25 now, was that I couldn't become too tight to my goals, which ties in perfectly with the advice that I just gave. And the reason for that was because, like I said, I had all of these things set out in my mind and about what I would be and where I would be at a particular time. And the truth is that it didn't work out because I had to leave University of the West Indies and stop pursuing my bachelor's. And I got really sad and really disillusioned with a lot of things. And in order for me to embrace what was coming next, I had to let go of my expectations of what my life was supposed to be. And so in letting go of my expectations of what my life was supposed to be, I was able to open new opportunities. And one of the things that I believe is that when you are too busy holding on to a door, sometimes you can't open the door in front of you because you got to stretch a little bit more. But because you're holding on behind you, you don't get to reach that door that you are supposed to open. And so I had to become comfortable closing doors before they actually opened, and before the other one was open, and when I could just see the next step and not necessarily the entire staircase. And so what I do is that I set goals at the start of every year, and I say these are the things that I want to accomplish, but they're not so solid in the sense that I'm not able to change it or to pivot like I said before. And so whenever an opportunity comes up that I think is going to work for me, I assess where I am, how it aligns with my overall goal or whatever it is that I'll set out to do the year. And then I go after it. If I want something, then that's what I'm going for. And so with Crick, it was really a matter of my support system saying, you would be great for this. I think that you would be perfect for this based on your experience and based on the things that you've been advocating for in your tenacity. So let's go for it. And Raheem was great in promoting and pushing and advising on all those different things. And then as it relates to Pink Parliament, it was really a matter of someone reaching out, which was Ronald King, who's the other co-founder. And she reached out and said, let's do this because this is great. And with the amount of experience you have within politics and within advocacy and the link connects that you have and the network that you have, we could do this. And so Pink Parliament was never in the plans when we started. Crick was something I had to kind of be pushed towards. So it's really about being open to all the possibilities. And once again, like I keep going back to this, not making yourself so hell-bent on the end that you aren't open to take other paths in order to get where you want to go.
Okay. I have a couple more questions to ask because I know some people may be dying to ask, but they're too shy to post in chat box. When a female is too ambitious and always in the public eye and always out there and being the first at everything, instead of people just positively promoting a female, there tends to be a peanut gallery that seeks to detract from the positive work that you're doing. How do you deal with the negative comments or the naysayers that would seek to detract you in terms of getting to your goals?
So let me be honest. I'm not quite at the space and my back is broad enough to ignore all the comments. There are times that I will feel frustrated or feel angry because of the feedback that I receive or things that people will say to my parents or my family or my friends. And the reality is that at some point in time, you are going to have to block out the white noise. You are going to have to ignore everything that you are going to say, and then you're going to have a tunnel vision towards what you are going towards. People can only impact you as much as you allow them, because I can't control how people are going to see me. As much as I may be well-intentioned, I cannot control what they are going to say about me. I cannot control how they are going to act about me, but I can control how I react to that. So I see every criticism now. Well, I might initially feel bad or feel annoyed or frustrated or want to respond. I see every criticism as a building block, because people don't throw, and the Prime Minister Timio says this all the time, people don't throw stones in an empty tree. If people are seeking to bring you down, or people are seeking to diminish the work that you are doing, or whatever your goal is, that means that you are doing something right. And that means that you should keep at it. Your support system is extremely important. Jabbar talked about it. The ability to have a team that is going to consistently not only tell you when you are doing well and to push you and to promote you and show up continuously, but those that are going to say, okay, Roshana, or okay, Jabbar, okay, Raheem, you're well, you don't know. I'm gonna need you to tone it back like several notches. And that's really it. Your support system, having the mindset that you are doing something right because people are coming at you, and just resting in the fact that you are going towards whatever it is that you want. At some point in time, you are going to have to decide that validation, external validation, will not come. And you are going to have to decide that people will put you on pedestals that you never asked to stand on, so that they can tear you down. Do not put too much pressure on yourself. Do not forget that you are human and will make mistakes. And every time you fall or every time you make a mistake, you need to dust yourself off, straighten your spine, and keep going for whatever it is that you are going for. And women, I'm speaking directly to the women right now, do so unapologetically. Because when men go after the things that we want to go after, they are never too ambitious. And therefore, we need not to see ourselves as ever being ambitious. If you believe it is yours, then it is yours.
So, Roshana, what would you say is your secret sauce? I have a secret formula to achieve my goals. Do you have a secret sauce to achieving yours?
It has to be my friends. It has to be. My secret sauce has to be my friends. And the reason I say it has to be my friends is because I have a very big fear of failure. If I don't believe that I am going to knock something out of the park, I will often procrastinate until something happens that will cause me to want to go after it. Or I will procrastinate until it passes because I don't think that I can get it at the time. Like if I set my mind to something, it is mine. But if I don't believe that it is mine, I will not go after it. And so my friends are consistently there saying, this is what you should do. Think about doing this. This is definitely for you. Sending me opportunities. Trying to make sure that I am up and also making sure that I don't drown myself in work, because if I am single-mindedly focused on something, then that is what I am single-mindedly focused on, and I will forget about hanging out. I will forget about spending time. I will work myself to exhaustion and to the bone in order to be able to get it. And so having a very strong circle and very grounded support system allows for me to continuously not only keep going, but to be kind to myself, because sometimes we are unkind to ourselves without even recognizing how brutal we are being to ourselves.
That's a powerful word. For me, my secret is consistently. I show up consistently excellent at every project that I do, in every group I'm on, in every client that I am working with. I show up consistently and I show up excellently every single time. I think you can't be a woman that consistent. You can't be a woman that consistently excellent. So I think most of the time, we try to do too much. And by doing too much, we drop the ball on some projects, or we drop the ball. We do something excellent here, and then we do a project kind of shabby, and people always remember us from our last project. So my secret sauce is being consistently excellent at everything that I do, even if that means slowing down on some things. Now we have a question here for Jubar from Hassani. Hassani is asking, so Jabbar, would you recommend young persons to take the leap of faith and seek opportunities abroad?
Well, to Hassani, I would say yes. And not only young persons, I would tell anyone to take that leap of faith and go abroad. You got to do your research though. You have to think about where you're gonna go. You have to have like a good 2 to 5 year plan in the destination you're going to go or in the position you're going to go into. But yes, I would tell anyone to go abroad, and especially I would encourage younger people to go, younger personnel to go abroad.
Jubar, there's a follow-up question. Even in this pandemic we're currently in, would you still encourage people?
Well, taking the pandemic into consideration, I would still give some consideration to going abroad, but you will have to do more research. But I'm doing that under the assumption that the pandemic would be gone within 6 months. That is just my assumption, but I'm not a health expert, not a pandemic, I'm not a.
I think we can talk and agree. We can talk and agree that it will be gone in 6 months, so we can get back to some form of normality. All right,
yeah. But under normal circumstances, yes, I would encourage you.
We have a question from Shamar from Jamaica for Roshana. Shamar is asking, how do you cope on your days when it's difficult and you're extremely exhausted to keep going at those objectives?
I sleep easily. I take a break, I breathe, I go out, I rest, because that's important. And sometimes we don't allow for ourselves to rest, and we don't allow for ourselves to breathe enough. in order to achieve what we want to achieve. I tell people all the time, if you work yourself to death, you will not be here to enjoy the fruits of your labor. And so it's perfectly fine to take a break. You don't have to chase the bag or chase the goal 24/7. On some human beings deserve rest and they need to sleep. So I sleep on those days. I hang out with my friends. I go to the beach and read a book. I read a lot now. I started to reinvest in reading at least 1 hour a day. Um, I take a break from my objectives and my goals and I focus on Roshana because that's important.
On the whole topic of people needing rest, everybody except law students. I know the law students on this leg will touch and agree. On that note, we go to Raheem Augustine Joseph, who is Dr. Matthew's favorite criminal law student. Mr. Joseph, welcome to HR Boss Go Second Workshop.
Thank you, Jamila. I know that I'm the favorite law student. That's probably
You don't know that you're the favorite law student. So, Mr. Joseph, a lot of people have you dubbed as the next Prime Minister of St. Lucia. Prophetically speaking, in the Caribbean circles, we have you dubbed as the next Prime Minister of Jamaica. You have a deep love for politics and law, and you've achieved a lot for such a young man. You're like 20 years old?
Yeah, just in 20 yesterday.
20 years old. How are you so focused and so clear on your goals at your age?
All right, first of all, thanks for having me here, Jamila. Thanks and good night to everybody else. Honestly, I'm focused and for the most part because of the support system that I have. But equally, I sort of look around the society and I see things that just need to be changed. And for the most part, that drives me to understand that I could sit back and complain about how much nobody's doing it, or rather I could sort of get in the game and be a real man and sort of do what I need to do to be able to just advance some sort of ripple of success. At times, as everybody would have mentioned, it becomes exhausting, it becomes daunting. You recognize that the task is even a bit more difficult day in and day out. But for the most part, when you add sort of moments of life together, you recognize that they're fleeting and they're sort of very little, but that you're never able to see what tomorrow may bring if you don't particularly keep going. But for me, I don't particularly see events and these things as major successes in a sense, but I see just impacting one life a day as that major success. And for the most part, I say that every sort of opportunity that I'm part of was sort of supposed to happen. But at the same time, I don't really fully believe in the idea of fate. But I believe that I must sort of grab the bull by the horn. And as Roshan and all the others would have said, sort of control that destiny that I particularly want.
So Raheem, let's talk about time management. You are a full-time student pursuing political science with law with the intention of becoming an attorney.
Yes.
You sit on several organizations, the St. Lucia National Youth Council, serve voluntarily on I believe, and you're very active in the political space. You are a cricketer, and you are a political commentator. How do you make time to be a full-time student while serving in so many different organizations? Because a lot of clients that come to us at the HR Boss often make the excuse, I work full-time or I go to school. I don't have time to serve my country, or I don't have time to join these organizations or get involved. Tell me how you go about managing your time.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think for the most part, I recognize everything that I do as a certain duty. Yeah. And I figure that for the most part, if I am particularly going to be doing anything, it sort of needs to be aligned to these objectives and these goals. Sometimes my friends and my colleagues tell me that I particularly don't know how to vacation. And I'm not saying that it is right or wrong, but I think it all comes back to political will. I recognize that there are 24 hours in a day and that I'm only able to maximize it as much as I can. And for the most part, I also recognize that I must be able to set these realistic goals and have these measurable outcomes with these goals. But at the same time, there is a particular vision and trajectory that I have for my life that I sort of want to see be achieved on my own basis, not creating it for anybody else or not having anybody else control my destiny for me, because I understand that the region has sort of, for the most part in the past, imposed that view of what people should do. And that sort of view towards self-actualization has sort of really always interested me, and I always want to be able to determine the extent to which. Most times I'm running around like a headless chicken, because I sort of always have many things to do within that small day. But as Roshana does as well, and everybody else, I try to sleep as much as possible, because I sort of would have listened to the words of Prime Minister of St. Vincent, who says that if he doesn't sleep, he's not able to focus and do what he needs to do. And also a very strong believer in the Bible that God gives sleep to his beloved. And if I am a beloved of God, that means that I need to always sleep as well. So basically, it's political will, and I recognize that if I don't do it, sometimes leadership is that lonely road that you just need to wake up and just burn that midnight oil, because you know that when you sort of labor these fruits, or when these fruits come to bear, you'll be very, very proud.
Let's talk about dealing with let's talk about peer pressure.
Yes.
You are a young man, as you said before, and you have big dreams and big goals. There are certain people that have high expectations of you. Like I mentioned before, it's not a joke. People have you out to be future Prime Minister of St. Lucia. Do you feel pressure on your shoulders to achieve that objective or that goal of being a star attorney? How do you manage the pressure of accepting leadership?
If I'm being completely honest, I do. I don't know that I think about it every single day, but a part of me sort of segues into the idea of the politician who thinks that their actions may sort of be modified, or rather their actions are so heavily scrutinized that they need to ensure that they behave in a particular way. But I'm always cognizant that I need to be able to sort of live my age. So the pressures are there. They're always ever so present. But I always recognize that these goals are always important, and that the things in life that we particularly feel for will always be there. I remember my coach telling me just before I come to university that girls, rum, and all these things are always going to be there, and that you would never finish rum as much as you wanted. And that for the most part, societies are not built and visions are not created only on nice time and leisure time. And I think for the most part, that drives me. That I look at a young person who does not particularly have the same opportunities as me, and I say that this is not what I want the future generation to look like. And especially considering our little part of the region, we sort of look at other parts and we recognize the disparity in the view that education is a right versus a privilege, that sort of debate. And we were like, okay, there are certain things in the society that aggravates us. And I'm using the word very, very, very strongly. And we say that this is what we want to change, and we sort of dedicate our life to be able to achieve these goals.
So, Raheem, I'm asking, just like they asked the other two panelists, what's your secret sauce? What is your secret sauce in your goals?
When you asked the other, I sort of tried to think of what exactly is it, that I do. That I mean, honestly, Jamila, I don't even know. I think I would sort of have a very general answer. Of the impacts of what I see of the lack of engagement. Yeah. And for the most part, I think the disappointment that I would sort of feel with myself, knowing that I could have done better. But I for the most part, I always want to encourage people that this grand, great vision that we all have for ourselves, this all well and good. But I'm always fearful of people who are able to just show me what the vision board says, as opposed to showing me the very little steps that's going to get you to that vision. Because it's about setting these realistic goals, and more importantly, showing me these measurable outcomes to show that there is a certain practicality in it, and that you are going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G to be able to achieve it. But if that doesn't happen, that there is always a plan B, plan C, plan D up your back pocket. And that for me is the trick.
Research shows that we create these vision goals, which helps to keep the goals in our front view. We create these fancy boards with a lot of magazine stickers on it. But a lot of people don't achieve their goals at the end of the year because, one, the goals are unrealistic, and two, there's no consistency. People don't seek help in the attainment of these goals. So for me personally, I have a team of people that help to make my goals come together, whether it be an assistant who helps me with my time management, my calendar, and my emails. Mentally, because running a business, going to school full-time, and working as an HR manager full-time is not easy. School alone is 20 hours teaching time. I'm a full-time student.
Yep.
Then outside of that, what you would know is very case intensive. You have to sit and read your cases and be on top of your work when you attend class. So for me, if you realize that this goal is going to take X amount of work, first of all, you have to set a realistic goal. Then you have to estimate what amount of time is necessary to achieve this goal, whatever the goal is. If the goal is to save money, if the goal is to reassess your finances in terms of getting a consolidated loan so that your debt comes down, if the goal is to lose weight, you have to find time, you have to research gyms to attend. Are you going to get a personal trainer that will come to your house and train you privately? I have a whole team, a personal trainer that comes to my house. If it is that I am exhausted from doing all these things, all these people, I have a therapist. I have a standing therapy appointment, a standing therapist that deals with my mental health. So 2021 is about realizing that in order to achieve these big goals, we need a team of people that help. And we at the HR Boss want to be your career coach, because sometimes you have an idea of where you want to go, but you may not have a how to get there. I don't think Jabbar would have mentioned, but we would have actually done his resume before he went to Bermuda and give him some advice, right? So at this time, I'm going to let Kobe come back on and actually do one of the giveaways right now.
All right, everybody, I am back to do a giveaway. So you are asked in this giveaway section to screen record any part of the session here this afternoon and tag us in on your IG page. So what I'll do now, I'm picking up my phone and I'm going to the mentions, and we're going to select someone randomly who tagged us in their IG story, and they tag the HR, who screen recorded and tag the HR Boss page. So while I am doing that, I'm going to just scroll. My eyes are closed, and when I click on somebody, this is how we know who it is. And I'm going to select, and I see Chelsea _16. She made a post. She has a post here of our session. So Chelsea _16, you are one of the winners of our free career coaching session. So you can send us a message at the end on the HR Boss page, and we'll set up that free career coaching session for you. And don't forget, we also have 2 free resume reviews that we are giving away. And just a reminder that all participants this evening will get a special rate for our upcoming masterclass and career goals club, which we'll be telling you a little bit more about in the end. So be sure to continuously, yes, I'm seeing Chelsea saying yeah. Be sure to continuously to screen record and tag on your Instagram page. We have 2 more giveaways, which are the free resume reviews.
All right, congratulations, Chelsea. Chelsea is from Trinidad, and Chelsea was in my Ace Any Interview Masterclass last year, the 2nd cohort, I believe. So I'm happy for you, Chelsea. You win something in life. I'm happy for you. So Raheem, back to you. You were talking about steps to actually fulfill the goals. Could you give us some tangible steps that we could apply in terms of achieving our goals? And my steps are, I have my support system that helped me to achieve my goals. I make my goal, I break down my goals in different categories. I'm actually looking at my vision board right now. I break down my goal in terms of business goals, school goals. I want A's and B's. We're not working with C's over here. I have my goals in terms of health. I had a lot of health challenges last year, so I want to be healthy in 2021. And lastly, I have a plan else. I want to decorate my home, right? How do you break down your goals? Do you break them down in sections, or you just have these big goals?
Okay, so for me, I would sort of have them in sections, yes, but for the most part, I try to do them on a more progressive scale. So I wouldn't particularly try to, let's say, for example, move from a C plus to just magically a 95%, because that I know in itself is unattainable. So I would sort of break them out in a bit more smaller sections and then allocate the extent to which there is scope and mobility to be able to achieve, let's say, a B or an A minus, and sort of dedicate that time to do that. As I would have mentioned earlier, that sort of measurable outcome. So knowing where you are currently, but because it takes a very full analysis of where you are currently, and where exactly you want to go, and the extent to which you need to modify certain behavioral patterns to be able to achieve it. Because for the most part, most of it is a modification of behavioral patterns, and you know what exactly you need to do to be able to get you to be where you are. Also, I think, as you would have mentioned, your support system would sort of help you. But for me, what I do is ensure that there are people that are always checking and making sure that I'm in line. Yes, support system, but sort of like a little check and balance to ensure that, hey, this is what you want to achieve, and this does not particularly align with your particular goal. For me, it's also somewhere in there having some sort of scope and some sort of recognition that things aren't always going to go as planned. So yes, you may tally your grades. I'm using school, for example, and you may believe that it's actually 45 out of 40, but there's always that little grace number here. Let's just take a little 3 marks away, because you never know what's going to happen. And that way you're able to sort of have a bit more realistic goal and not get fully disappointed. But at the same time, after all is said and done, you sort of have, at the end of these goals, a room for feedback. Because as much as sometimes we believe that some things are within our own grasp, as much as we think that some things are justified, it's sort of always good to get that feedback from professionals, so you sort of grow in that continuous process. And for me, at the end of all of that, it is about recognizing that, hey, this has passed. There's nothing that you could do to change that, so let's move on. But I think finally, it's sort of, so at the beginning again, is knowing your style. For me, at the big online school was sort of a lot to deal with, because it required a lot of adaptability. The face-to-face instruction can never be replaced, and we've gone over that over and over again. And my learning style would possibly be to constantly have that interaction, teacher-student in person, constantly writing of notes, constantly engaging. But that's very limited in an online space, because the lectures, the Wi-Fi, we know the UE dramas, etc., etc. So you need to, again, recognize that situation and modify and be very, very quick to do so. Recognize the issue and be very, very, very solution-oriented, because you recognize that things aren't particularly the same. You really have very little time to complain, because you know that not because you complain about the lecture being online means it's going to come face-to-face. You adapt very, 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 very quickly, and you make these adjustments, and you keep yourself very steady on that goal. Things are going to come here and there that's going to make you sort of sway and stray, etc. But once you know exactly what you want, as all of my other colleagues have said, you just, as Auntie Mia would say, you stay the course.
Yes, please. No, thanks very much, Raheem. And today I had to bring somebody very special to share with you. The last speaker, Rashida. Rashida is my accountant, and I'm not selfish. I'm sharing her with you, and she's going to talk to us about the money, because we are here to find out where the money resides. A lot of us have a lot of problems in terms of we may get money, but managing it is the problem, or we might not be getting it, and we might want more money in 2021. Well, 2021. What am I saying? 2021. Rashida is a qualified accountant. She has her own businesses. She's a businesswoman. She has a accounting auditing firm, and PR consulting. She has Feed the Passion, which is a business that helps small businesses with their accounts and with setting up from scratch. She has a eyewear line launching this year, I think this month. Rashida does a lot of things. So without further ado, welcome, Rashida.
Hi. Good night to everyone on your panel and everyone on your live. So
Rashida, we all want to see where the money resides. I know wrong tax time, I have you into a crazy person, or other people into a crazy person. Mm-hmm. But a major part of the problem for me is at the end of the year, we do not set realistic money goals. We don't have a good relationship with our money. So we see money as something that either comes and we spend it fast, or something comes and we hold on to it. Could you take us through what kind of money goals we should be setting, or what kind of mindset we should be having towards our money at the beginning of the year?
Okay. So when it comes to personal finances, and this is what we're talking about, one of the key elements that you need to have is a budget. You need to understand how much money you're earning and how much money you're spending, because it will be all well and good to set a target, for example, of wanting to have $500,000 at the end of the year. When you have a salary of $1,000 a month, that's not going to be feasible or realistic. And like everyone was saying before, your goals need to be realistic and achievable, and that applies to your money goals as well. So the first thing you need to do is to take stock of where you are at. And the best way to do that is with a personal budget. You need to find out where your sources of income are. If it's just a salary, if you have a little side hustle, if you have an investment portfolio, for example, you have shares, or if you have a mutual fund, or if you have a pension fund, if any of that is bringing any extra income to you, how much that income is, and then the all-encompassing what you are spending your money on. You have to look to see what is the key thing you're spending money on. Some people are renting, some people have car loans, some people have mortgages, you have childcare expenses. There's so many different things that our money can go into, or incidentals, in terms of manicures and pedicures and getting your hair done and stuff like that. And groceries, this is a really big one that a lot of people don't really consider sometimes. Just spending money on your food budget every month can be very costly. So the first thing you need to do is to stay stock of where you are, and I would recommend that you do a personal budget. Once you have your budget and you understand where your money is coming in from, and you understand where your money is going out from, then you can make different steps to kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for, to tamper the flow of the money that is going out, in terms of stocking it up, in terms of then looking to add additional income into your budget. So it may be, for example, a hobby that you have, that you may be able to go to different pop-ups and sell candles if you're into candle making, or sell jewelry if you're into jewelry making, for example. It may be something like starting a business, using a service that you have. If you have a profession, starting like a accountant, you might then determine that you want to help small businesses with their accounting that offer bookkeeping services. So those are the steps that I think that you'll need to take in order to set that overall money goal at the beginning of the year.
So I think you grappled up my color a little bit there, just spending money on food. We have a lot of major expenses being bad habits. We may have, there's some people who like, we call it emotionally spend. So
Yeah.
it might be on food, it might be on clothes, it might be on makeup, it might be on hair. There are a lot of us who emotionally spend money. How would you advise us to get out of that bad habit?
You can't, well, I understand the concept of emotionally spending, because especially with last year being what it was, you want to feel good, you want to have good experiences, and with the restrictions that are there in terms of limited interaction and social distancing, sometimes it's easy to get online and spend a couple of dollars here, a couple of dollars there, or you go out for want of a better word, and you go in the supermarket and you see some chocolates or some wine, and you buy an extra bottle of wine, an extra chocolate or something like that. But if you're being realistic about the goal that you're setting and you really want to earn it, you said earlier about being consistent. You have to be consistent. You have to let yourself know that, no, this is not the time to do it. This is not the time to spend the money on the extra chocolate just for the feel good moment for a little bit, because that's not going to help you achieve your goal. You need to keep your goal in focus. So for example, for me, what I do, I like wine and I like chocolate. So that's why I use that example. If I realize that I am under stress, I like to eat chocolate. I like to spend a little bit extra on the chocolate. I'm not going to do that. And it sounds very simplistic, and I'm trying to make it as simplistic as possible for you to get the understanding of it. One Kit Kat is going to sound like a little bit of money, like $1 here, $2 there, but every little bit helps. It may not be a Kit Kat, it may be $20, it may be $50, it may be $100 for you. At the end of the day, if you have the goal, for example, of saving $500 at the end of the month, the little extra incidental spending that you're doing, that is going to creep in, and that's going to hit that $500 that you want to spend at the end of the month. So you have to be consistent. You have to keep the goal in mind. If it is $500 that you want, you have to find another coping mechanism. It can't be just spending money that is going to be the coping mechanism. You have to find another outlet, something that is more helpful. And Roshana alluded to something that I actually thought was quite useful in terms of spending time and learning something. You can go online for free and look for a webinar or course, do something to elevate yourself and elevate your development. Just don't spend money just because it's there.
So another thing I want to talk to you about, there's a big buzzword, entrepreneurship and having a side hustle. In 2020, a lot of people lost their jobs, and we've seen the rise in roadside vending in ways that I haven't seen it before. I saw a woman on the highway selling pillows, clothes, going there by Dayton Griffith School. There are people on both sides of the road now, where before it would just be the coconut man or the vegetable people, but there are people selling everywhere, right? What advice would you give to people who are interested in setting up a side hustle? They don't have the money, they don't have the resources, and they just don't know where to start.
Okay, so in terms of what you're saying, in terms of Barbados specifically, yes, there has been a rise, especially in the COVID pandemic, of roadside vending, from ramen to fruits and vegetables to masks to pillows, etc. And I actually think that is a very good thing. I think that is going to help the economy in some way. It's a trickle down effect, but it will help in some form or some fashion. For me, the advice that I would give is that entrepreneurship, or say hustling, or whatever you may want to call it, is very simplistic. It's not something that you need to think so much about. Don't mind the buzzwords, and also please don't give in to the hype that's on Instagram or on some of these social media networks. You need to be focused. You need to have a plan. You have to have a goal. At the end of the day, just don't jump into it because you see somebody else doing it that you're going to then automatically just do it. You need to have a plan. And I would say to take the time to figure out what it is that you want to do. Make sure that there's a market for it. Make sure that there's a place that you can actually sell your product, or there's a market to sell your product to. Not only that, you need to test the idea. So whereas it may look good for somebody to be alongside the road selling fruits and vegetables, that person may have access to a farmer who needs their produce sold. And they're taking the produce that the farmer has and they're sending their roadside vending, and then they're always having their fruits and vegetables. You're just seeing them selling the fruit and vegetables. You have no idea where their source is, and you decide you wanted to do it. But for you, you have to go purchase these fruits and vegetables, say, for example, from the supermarket. Automatically, y'all are competing at a way different level. The person that has access to the farm is going to be more successful because their overheads, etc., might be a lot cheaper than yours, versus you wanting to just sell the fruits and vegetables because you see somebody else doing it. What I would suggest is that you take stock of what resources you do have. Don't try to do something that you're not familiar with. Don't try to get into selling products or services that you're not familiar with, that you don't have experience with. Let's just see what you have around that you can use to your advantage. If it is a situation where you were cut in a hotel and you were laid off and your expertise is cooking, then by all means get the relevant health certificates and get into these roadside vending, perhaps of the same ramen or whatever food will be applicable at that point in time. But I would suggest that people take stock of the resources that they do have. In terms of money, in many instances, a lot of persons start businesses without a large capital investment, depending on the nature of the business. There are some businesses that you can start with a minimal capital investment. And again, that's all about looking at the sources of finances that you have available to you. Some people start businesses taking out a loan. That may not be something that may be feasible for a side hustle. It may be that you have an extra $100 and you're trying to flip that $100. There's some people who look to friends and family, if that is a source of income for them to invest into what it is that they're about to do. Again, in terms of the side hustling, because of the pandemic and how that has shaped the environment recently, side hustling is now seen as fundamental for a lot of persons. But at the same point in time, you have to choose quality over quantity. It's not just because everybody else is doing it that you're automatically just going to go out there and do a side hustle. Look at what your resources are and try to pick a hustle from what you have available so that you can reduce the risk of failure, you can reduce the risk of cost so that you can be more successful. Hi, you can hear me? I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Your mic is muted. I feel like one of those Zoom hosts that come in to tell you unmute your mic, Jamila.
I was actually sharing her presentation while she was talking, but that's fine. We have a question for Rashida. Kobe, could you take it away?
Yes, I will take it away. It comes from Hassani, and he asked the question. So, Rashida, question: with the world currently the way it is, would you recommend persons to save more or spend it and enjoy life?
The accountant in me will tell you always to save your money, never spend it, and just enjoy life, because the pandemic is here today, but it won't be here tomorrow necessarily. So rather than just blow your money, I always believe that you should end the year with a cash reserve or savings, for want of a better word. You should always have some cash reserve, because you just don't know what's going to happen. For example, nobody anticipated COVID-19, and for those that had a cash reserve, they were able to rally it out a little bit better than those who didn't. So if it is a situation where you have extra cash, always save it. If it is that you have to put it in a bank account and you don't have access to ATM card so that you can go and spend money, so be it. But I would never advise you to just blow money just because the world is ending or
World is
whatever.
coming to an end.
No,
It's
not all,
interesting that you
but I
go
would
ahead.
say though, you should take moments to enjoy yourself. It's not to say that it's just a matter of you work and save, work and save. You have to have moments with your families, have moments with your friends. So it's not to say that you just spend every cent, but you have to balance it. It's about balance. You can't just spend everything. And I know that is not feasible necessarily to save every cent that you have, but I would not recommend to just go blow money willy-nilly.
It's interesting that you mentioned the account where you just put in and you know there are some accounts that it makes it difficult to get off money. So I like those as well too, for saving in particular. And something that I heard somebody mention or allude to earlier. I just want you to go into a little bit more about setting a personal budget. So even in your goal setting this year, even if you say as small as I just want to save $100 a month, and I'm going to put that one side, and I'm going to build my emergency fund on that. And what I've done, there was an app that I downloaded, and what I put in a personal or in my monthly budget was to put in a certain amount for recreational activities, so that I know that when the end of the month comes and I say I'm putting $200 to go to a fete, this include clothes, ticket, everything, that at the end of that period of time, then that is the money for the month. So would you recommend doing, now that we're talking about goal setting, that you also set a personal budget and financial goals that are realistic for a year?
Definitely. I would say to have a moving target. I would say to have a target per month and then adjust accordingly depending, because some months there are unexpected expenses that will come up and will pop up. So I would say for each month that you will have a particular target. I do recommend looking for apps or anything to make it easier to help you to budget and to budget your money, and help with your finances. Some people use spreadsheets. Some people in the past use Waves. I know that that's no longer accessible, but since this is on YouTube, for those in the US, Waves is still accessible and it can help with personal financing. In terms of how you set up your budget, there are different categories that you can have. You have for the essentials, such as rent, food, utilities, loan payment, and you can definitely have within that budget that you're set up at the beginning of the month, a portion for recreation, and you can also have a portion for savings. It's very difficult though, and I must say, for persons who are living paycheck to paycheck to necessarily carve out or allocate their money like this. So for those who find it difficult to save on a monthly basis and they feel as if they're living paycheck to paycheck, the key for them would be to find some additional revenue so that they can set aside money. Sometimes it may come in the form of having 2 jobs. It may come in the form of, again, with the whole side hustle, looking to see what time they can carve out to make themselves available for another job, to start something of their own along those lines. But living paycheck to paycheck makes it a little bit more difficult to budget, but not impossible. So for persons who find themselves living paycheck to paycheck, analyze your expenses, and if it is that you can trim some of the expenses and save that money, so be it. But if you realize that your paycheck is not sufficient, then you need to look for an additional source of income. For those who have a monthly or weekly source of income, definitely use the budgeting apps, but I would say set a target. Say, for example, set yourself the target of trying to save $100 a month, and at the end of the month, analyze to see how well you did in terms of trying to achieve that target. And if you failed to achieve the target, what were the reasons? Was it that there was an unexpected illness, so you had to spend the money that you were saving? So take stock or do a review at the end of every month to see where you didn't accomplish the goal that you set. And then for the next month, set a revised target. So the last month you had an unexpected illness. So the next month you're not expecting that. So then try to recover in the following month what you would have been saving for the previous month.
I must say, Rashida, it seems as if we really need to have you back probably a little later in the year, because I know January is a rough month and it is only 17th. And I like to look at my I like the little needle from the First Caribbean, and it kind of depresses me right now to look at that needle until probably about the 26th or so. So I think that we can probably bring you back probably the first month in February when everybody has gone over that big Christmas spend, and we're a little bit back on target now to be where the money resides in 2021, so that we can definitely set those goals, those budget goals, those financial goals. Before we move on to some other questions, there was one other question that was directed at you, and at this time I'll also encourage those of you who are watching to send in all of your questions, because this is our last presenter. So we're going to, if there are any questions that you have for any of the presenters, that you can send them so that we can ask those questions, and then we're going to have a wrap-up session by our CEO, who will give an overall where the money resides talks for 2021. So Hassani had a follow-up question for you, and he says, what made you decide to engage in multiple streams of income?
Okay, that's a very good question, Hassani. My vision board started, I started vision boarding actually when I met Jamila, and she did a session on vision boarding. And one of the things that I want to accomplish, or one of my long-term goals, is what pushed me to diversify my income. And for me, diversification came from starting several businesses. So the first business I started was Feed the Passion, and it started just as a blog, me just sharing tips and ideas for female entrepreneurs in the Caribbean. And from that, I wanted to do something that was more specific to my qualifications. So then I started my consulting business, and using my background in audit and finance and accounting, I started to offer my services to small businesses. And as Jamila alluded to, last year, as a result of illness, so to speak, a strain, really and truly, I came up with another business idea, and that is one that I'm launching this month, but hopefully by the end of this month that will be launched, which is a Canvas Eyewear. So it was just a matter of seeing opportunities, or from things I've experienced, that I've decided to launch businesses, and more so from the perspective of trying to diversify my income as well. What 2020 has definitely proven to me is that you definitely will need diverse streams of income, and it is extremely recommended, even if you have a secure job or you think your job is secure, that diversifying your income, having something on the side, will definitely help you more than hinder you. And it's something that I would recommend to anybody. Even if you're a student and you're studying, I would still recommend looking for a solution that you can solve and turn it into a hustle.
And Rashida, to the simple answer to that question to Hassani is, you want to be where the money resides, right? we have some follow-up questions as well. We have one here from Miss Hoyt. She asks, Rashida, what are your thoughts on investing? Do you have any tips?
Yeah, so investing in the Caribbean, I think, can be a little bit more challenging than probably anywhere else. One of the things that I would suggest that any person get right away is a personal pension plan. That is something that you can invest in your future in, and it doesn't require too much effort or too much money. You can talk with a financial advisor at any of the Sagicors or ACBLs or any other investment agency in terms of what you can do for yourself. So a pension plan, a private pension plan is definitely one of them that I would suggest everybody get. The other one that I would suggest is a mutual fund, which is very similar to a pension plan, and it doesn't require a lot of money. Again, they'll be able to guide you based on your budget in terms of how much you can invest and your age and stuff like that. So those are the two investment tools that I would say are accessible in the Caribbean that are very beneficial and can be started regardless of your age. So those are the two things. Definitely having a commercial banking account as well, or a credit union account, so that you can also save additional cash as well in that, not the one that your salary necessarily goes into, because I consider that to be your operating account, the one that you're spending money from, constantly withdrawing from, one that you don't touch, one that you set aside a little bit whatever you're saving at the end of the month, you transfer it into that particular account and you just leave that account untouched. That's another method that you can use. So those three are the ones that I would suggest. A personal pension plan, a mutual fund, and having a separate savings account, either with a commercial entity or with a credit union.
Rashida, I almost thought you were changing job descriptions and about the some insurance, some Guardian or Sagicor.
No. Okay. And they will advise you better in terms of product, but my only suggestion is to go to them. For sure.
Oh, okay. All right, we have another question for you, Rashida, and then we're going to do our second giveaway. So don't forget to screen record this session and to be able to tag us on Instagram at the HR Boss. So as soon as Rashida is finished answering this question, which I have on screen, I'm going to do that second giveaway. So we have a question for Rashida. What advice would you give to a person who's qualified but does not have much experience looking to pick up a side hustle in a particular profession? Rashida, you will answer that from a financial perspective, but I'll also make sure that the HR Boss has that question picked as well, so that when she does her session, she can come forward and answer that question.
That's fine. Okay, so from my experience, what I would suggest is simply, if you have the qualification and you don't have experience, you have to get the experience, because people want to know that, especially when they're dealing with a professional, that a professional has experience. One option that you can consider is an internship to get experience. And I would recommend the internship because the internship allows you to get the experience, understand the particular industry that you're seeking to get into, and it will help you to determine if this is what you really want to do. Once you have the internship and you get the experience and you maintain your qualification, then you can start to branch off into looking to attract additional clients. So my suggestion would be to get an internship with a professional within the particular field that you're in, so that you can get some experience. You may get a stipend from the internship. Some internships are paid, some internships are not paid. But if it is the experience that you're looking for me, if the goal is to get the experience, then the stipend, yes, it will be helpful. But if the long-term goal is to do something on your own, that experience is far more valuable for me in terms of what you're seeking to do than necessarily the stipend that you're going to get. So my advice to you would be to get internship with a professional or professionals with any particular industry that you're seeking to get into.
Well said, Rashida. We're going to put you on pause for a little bit as we're getting ready to wrap up. But we are going to have our second giveaway. We're giving away 2 resume reviews. So I have the page here now loaded, and I'm going to scroll with my eyes closed, and then I'm going to click on one, and we are going to see that 2 people who will get that free resume review. So let's go through. My eyes are closed. I'm just scrolling, and I'm clicking on one, and I am seeing fitness.icu. Fitness.icu. Just send us a message after this, and you will be one of the persons to get a free resume review. I'm going to do the next one. Scrolling, coming back up, and clicking, and I'm seeing Forever Young Lorenzo. So that's Fitness ICU and Forever Long Lorenzo. I'm seeing you. You're going to be getting a free resume review from the HR Boss. So just send us a message on Instagram so that we can take your contact information and be sure to set up that session with you. At this point in time, we're going to ask you again if you have any other questions for the panelists to start to put them into words, because we're going to have one final wrap up with the panelists. But before we do that, we're going to get a quick word from our CEO, Jamila Hollingsworth, who will come and give you an overall synopsis of this goal setting workshop 2021 to be where the money resides. Jamila,
Hi,
welcome.
So it's been a long poll. We've been here for over 20 minutes and we're getting ready to wrap up.
We're going to wrap it up.
I want to be your career coach in 2021. Last year was rough, but we had all the tools and all the time to rest last year. This year it's time to sprint. We've been crawling, walking, jogging, but this year is sprinting time and you need to get there with a good career coach. Kobe's going to tell you, if you are on this live, you get a percentage off on all of our services. And I'm only opening 50 career coaching slots for the year. Only 50 for the year. I normally do like 25 per month, but we're doing 50 for the year because my time is limited. So you are getting first dibs tonight. So we also have an interview masterclass coming up. And if you are here, you're going to get 10% off that interview masterclass. So just make sure you use the code where the money resides, and I'll know that you were in this class so you can get your discount off our upcoming class. Kobe? That's it for me, Kobe.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much for that word. We're just going to ask that if you have any other questions at this particular point in time, that you send those questions. We have our panelists who are here. We still have Jabbar, we have Rashida, we have Raheem. Furthermore, I'm just going to bring everybody on the screen right now, show them some love. So we have all of our persons here on screen now. Before anybody asks another questions, I just want to say thank you all for being here and sharing your thoughts. I'm pretty sure that a number of people here, those who stuck with us throughout this entire episode, well, hear me saying episode, through this entire workshop, were able to benefit from the advice that you gave. So I'll give this opportunity to anyone who wants to ask any questions, that they can do that. And for those of you who will watch this video after it has concluded, you feel free to send us a message at info@thehrboss.com. That's info@thehrboss.com. If you want to ask us any questions. I see that Lisa has a question here for Jamila specifically. So Jamila, she's putting you in the hot seat because she actually has a question that I was going to ask you, Jamila, which is an interesting question. So I'll pose it to you now. This is a question for the HR boss. One of the main points from the panel is having a good support system. What advice would you give to someone who does not have one? I think that's an excellent question, Lisa.
This is a good question. You have to create one. When I started to do big things and when I wanted to become an entrepreneur, I did not have a circle of people who were entrepreneurs to go on. And I went to mixers, I went to networking events, and I had a goal. Okay, if I go to this event, I have to meet at least one or two people and build a meaningful relationship with that person. I actually met Rashida at her stream. I actually met Rashida at Mixer. Rashida saw me on Instagram and she came up to me and she's like, I know you from Instagram. And that's exactly how we met. I said,
yeah.
This girl is crazy. And
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And now we are the best of friends. So it's all about taking a risk and putting yourself out there. Roshana was a similar situation. We moved in the same political circles. She worked in the building that I work in now. And she was on the 5th floor. I was on the 2nd floor. She used to bring my coffee every day. And 2 Tuesdays later, she introduced me to my husband. So, that's how you build relationships. Jabbar is actually my younger brother's really good friend, but I actually consider Jabbar as my little brother. I'm very proud of him. I'm very, very proud big sister. And Raheem, I met in Trinidad. So Raheem is in Lucian, and I met him in Trinidad through Roshana. Isn't that crazy? So, Lisa, to your question, you don't need to come with a solid network. Your network develops organically over time, but you putting yourself in rooms with people who are going in the same direction as you. You can't get to where you're going if you're stuck with people that don't know what they're doing. And that's a fair point. In this game, and when you're going to where you're going, you can find yourself shedding some friends, shedding some family members, on cousining, on family, on mothering, people who aren't supportive of where you're going with your life, and that's fine. You can't take everybody with you, and that's perfectly fine. But Lisa, you have to put yourself in a position to meet people intentionally to meet people who will help you and assist you on your path to your goals.
Thank you very much, Jamila, for that that answer to that question. Lisa, you can let me know if that question was answered to your satisfaction, and you can also be sure that if you have any other questions that you may not want to ask on your live, that you can send us a message at info@thehrboss.com, and we'll be sure to respond to some of your questions. So as you're wrapping up now, I'm seeing some thoughts about excellent advice. Thank you for sharing. I'm seeing one more question that I'll pose and this question is for Rashida. And once we get this last question in, I'm going to give a low 10-second window for any other questions, and then we're going to cut off. So this question is to Rashida. As a small business who may not be able to afford an accountant at the moment, what apps do you suggest that will help in the interim? You might go ahead. Your mic was muted.
Hi, I am assuming there that you have some background in record keeping or bookkeeping, because that is what is going to be essential in using any accounting software or any apps. Once you have a basic understanding, or you can figure out how to submit an invoice and how to record an expense, there's several apps out there. One that I am currently looking at is the ZipBooks. I think it's ZipBooks. Yeah, ZipBooks, which is a free online app. There's another one, but again, that is not strictly for the US residents, so it's not going to be applicable in the Caribbean anymore. If you don't have a Wave account prior to this switching over, then you can't create one right now. QuickBooks is another one, but that is one that you have to pay for an online monthly subscription. So once you are comfortable with that, by all means do that. I do recommend that you use an app or some system to help you keep track, even if it is that you have a spreadsheet, although those are prone to errors, that you have some way of keeping track of not just your income, but your expenses, and that you can produce an income statement. Because when you reach the point of having to hire a professional accountant, one of the things that we're going to require is to have your record keeping, to have your receipts, to have your invoices. So everything associated with your business, please keep all your bank transactions, get a bank account, make sure that it's separate from your personal account for your small business. Keep all those records for the accountant when you move to that stage. Have an idea of what your income is, have an idea of your expenses, and every month pull that together in the income statement and have an idea of how the business is doing generally. Those are the things I would suggest. Unfortunately, QuickBooks is a paid subscription, and ZipBooks is the only one that I can tell for right now that still offers a free online bookkeeping app.
Thank you, Rashida. Rashida, you said that you had a question for Jamila.
Yeah, I do have a question for Jamila. Just a follow-up in terms of the mixers and stuff. What happens given this environment of social distancing and where you're restricted to online environments? How are you going to meet those meaningful contacts? Because when you're in person, you can catch a person's vibe much better than when you're online. So what is your suggestion for persons who want to introduce themselves to people, but they're restricted to this online environment?
Okay, they could join our Career Goals Club. The HR Boss has a social network online. We have an Instagram page and then the actual app on your phone. And it has professionals from 15 Caribbean territories. 15. So you don't have to go and force yourself on people. We have 15 islands on our app and on our Instagram page. It's called the Career Goals Club. It's absolutely free. And you can just come on the page and you meet people in the Caribbean. There's a private chat that you could message people. We do Zoom calls twice a month with experts all over the Caribbean, and we have Zoom parties. So in the interim, that's a really great way to meet people through our Career Goals Club, which is free now. But as we move on throughout the year, it will be paid because it's really an invaluable service. There are so many people who have met on there and now are doing business together that we're going to have to pay for the administration of it.
Thank you very much, Jamila. And to those of you who are still on the live, just to let you know that at the HR Boss, we are actually having some specials this year for 2021. So if after this session you want to have a one-on-one to discuss your vision board, to discuss where your career is going, as you know, Jamila is a certified recruiter and practitioner with over 9 years experience. So we're offering that service. You can look on the HR Boss for all of our services, and that is just at $25 US. This also includes interview coaching and career planning. So you know that sometimes we may get those jitters before an interview. So she offers that service as well. Our resumes, revamp your resumes, make sure that they look good, that when they go through that software that they hit all those keywords, and that is at a cost of $25 US. And our interview masterclass, which you will hear a lot about. Stay tuned to our channels because we will be sharing a lot of information about that interview masterclass. And I can tell you that is one jam-packed session that you have to bring out your notepad for, you have to bring out your notebooks for, because it is amazing. Honestly, it is amazing. So after going through that session, you will look at interviews, at career planning a lot different. So at this time, I'm going to bring everybody else on screen just to thank them all again for being here this evening, for participating in this goal setting workshop. I want you to just send some messages in the comment section to let us know if you found this session informative, if you like what you saw, and if you want some more information. We'll be sure to be having these sessions a little bit more frequently and a little bit more often. So what I'll do at this point in time, as we wrap up, because we've been on for an hour and 30 minutes, is I'm going to give each of the panelists 30 seconds. And no, I said 30 seconds, everybody, to just give your best advice about how to channel through 2021 to our viewers here this evening, to be where the money resides. So I'll start with you, Jabbar, and Rahim, and then Rashida.
Thanks, Kobe. I think my advice for everyone in 2021 would to be just stay aware and be prepared.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Kobe. Thank you, Jamila. I think for the most part, it is about setting realistic goals, having these measurable outcomes, ensuring that you're specializing in something, because it's a plague for everybody to basically be doing that same thing. Enjoy life as much as possible during that time. Be resilient. Have some level of adaptability. Be solution oriented. Use some time to think and plan your time. But more importantly, it is preparing to plan. Very, very, very importantly.
Okay, so my 30-second wrap up would be diversify your revenue stream. Just don't rely on your salary alone, and to formulate a personal budget and have a movable target every month as to what you want to save, a goal setting target, a movable target.
Hi, people. In 2021, we are going to win by any means necessary. Whatever it takes to get us to our goals, consistency, prayer, hard work, and a strong team, we're here to get you to your goals. So I have one video to play for you guys.
We going, what a money reside, what a money reside, what a money reside, what a money reside. Okay, let me tell y'all something. I'm doing something real big this month. Any deal that y'all got and they beating us, I'm gonna beat about $400. Just give me your pen and the paper, because I'm paying what the was. where the money reside, where the money reside, where the money reside, where the money reside.
And that's on Mary Had a Little Lamb, period.
Thank you so much, Jamila. Thank you so much to the panel for being here this evening. I'm seeing Cynthia saying that she would like to have a resume reviewed. So email us at email us at resumes@thehrboss.com. We'll be sure definitely to have that resume reviewed for you. So Jamila, just type that in the chat so Cynthia can find it out. resumes@thehrboss.com, and we'll sort that out for you. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. It was really a great time. I appreciate the feedback that we had so far, and all I'm by saying is we're going to be in 2021 where the money resides. Have a great evening, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Continue to follow us at the HR Boss on everything. Bye-bye, everybody.